Joining me now is Gerry Adams, President of Sinn Fein. I am pleased to have him back on this program to talk about recent developments and the decision to disarm the decommissioning in Northern Ireland. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Charlie. Good evening.
What brought this about?
Well, I think it's an earnest of the IRA's commitment to the peace process, and I think if there's credit to be given, it is to them. What motivated myself and Martin McGuinness and others in the Sinn Fein leadership was our sense that the peace process back home was going to collapse. There have been 300 bomb attacks by the Loyalists since March of last year. There have, since March of this year, you've seen the pictures of the little Catholic schoolgirls on their way to school being pilloried and subjected to awful sectarian hatred. The institutions have been suspended a number of times. So all in all, if that had continued, say, for another 12 months or so, the entire process would have been in jeopardy, and we wanted to save that process. And I went to South Africa. I spoke to President Mbeki, and I also spoke to former President Mandela. Martin McGuinness spoke to people here in the States. We spoke to the Irish and British governments. I spoke to the unionist leadership, and we tried to put together a context in which the IRA would move. And of course, people in Ireland were very shaken and traumatised by what happened here on September the 11th. And in many ways, my political response to that was that we had to make our process work. We had to show that there was a place in the world that there could be change and that there was another way of going forward. So all of that all came together at this particular time.
Yeah. Talk more about that, because it was the question I was going to ask you, and one of the things you obviously think about when you see these two kinds of events proximate. What impact did it have on you, and what impact did it have on your colleagues?
Well, I was in the window on the World's restaurant 2 years ago at a Friends of Sinn Fein event, and it was organised by people from the Mercantile District, and they were really proud that we were there. You know, they were really pleased that we were in this show piece of architecture and in a very, very beautiful setting looking over the river and so on. So when the planes hit the towers, we could identify personally with the location. I was with the Irish Taoiseach when I got news, the Irish Taoiseach or Prime Minister, when I got news of what had occurred. It didn't really penetrate until I heard a radio report on the car radio on the way from Dublin to Belfast. And an Irish journalist called Conor O'Cleary was describing his apartment overlooked the scene. And every so often he would punctuate and interrupt his remarks with, "God, someone has jumped." And that's when it started to actually penetrate to me what had actually occurred. I spent the week, like many other people, phoning New York with friends in the NYPD and the fire services. I knew Father Michael Judge. One of the people who organised our event was missing, presumed dead. So we went through all the anxieties and personal, I suppose, trauma that everyone
But did it, obvious question, cause you to say, listen, I haven't done enough, we haven't done enough, we've got to make a difference? And I mean, this was done and perceived as an act of terror. Yeah. And events in Northern Ireland have been done and perceived as acts of terror.
Well, I think that is true in terms of a certain artificial perception. Clearly what happened in the Twin Towers and in the Pentagon and with those very brave people who were in the hijack plane was terrorism. And there have been a lot of many horrible things have been done in Ireland over a long time. But attempts to put the IRA in that frame, I think, are completely erroneous. Republicans move and act in a totally different moral context. But I do think that, in a very perverse way, that what happened here was almost an encouragement to redouble the efforts back home. Some of the, particularly the British media, have tried to depict the IRA move as being under pressure. Yeah. And I rail against that. Not that I think I can change their minds in writing this stuff, but because I think it misses the point. You know, if we need to suspend skepticism, we need to see, I think, the IRA action of putting arms beyond use as a patriotic action, as something which has caused pain to Republicans who, against the background of militarisation and remilitarisation by the British and against the background of the process not working, it has caused pain to many Republicans that the IRA leadership moved as it did. But I think it was a good thing, and I would like to think that in a very dreary world, and there's people here in this city and elsewhere in the USA, try to come to terms and try to find a context for what happened, that maybe the little flame, the little flicker of a peace process in Ireland, which is working very slowly, too slow for me, but still working nonetheless, maybe some small consolation to them.
I noticed since the last time I saw you, more grey in your beard.
Yeah. Well, I think the process has to take credit or responsibility for that.
And it leads me to the inevitable question. Are you at the point where you think you're going to see this thing come to settlement in your lifetime?
Absolutely. If I'm spared, you know, we don't know.
We don't know what's around the corner, as September 11th teaches us in a dramatic way.
I actually think that one of the messages out of September the 11th is that we shouldn't take each other ever for granted. Yeah. We shouldn't take our families or our friends or our colleagues for granted. But
or how many days we have left to do anything.
Yeah, well, if I'm spared, it is my firm conviction that I will live to see not just a peace settlement, but Ireland united. That I live to see a society on the island of Ireland which is independent of Britain and which is part of a new relationship between the two islands, that we will actually, and we have the capacity, not least because of the support of Irish America and other people here in the USA, including this president and the last president, that we will move to a level playing field, and then those of us who are Irish Republican will be able to create with others a society which is a national republic on the island, and which will be, I think, the type of future that the people of our small island deserve.